Hello everybody and welcome to the Mario Sluggers League Season 4 Draft. I am the new voice of the Mario Sluggers League and I will be commentating today's draft. First part of business today is we'd like to announce some changes within the league, and first we like to announce that the former DK Wilds will be a new team now under a new GM. So we'd like to now hear from that GM to hear who he will pick as his new captain.
Alright, well, I'm back. I used to be the owner of the Spitballs or whatever. And today I'll be picking Mario as my new captain.
Alright, so we now have the Mario Fireballs instead of the DK Wilds. Would you like to give any insight into why you liked Mario as a captain?
He's just a little underappreciated, does a little of everything. You know, one of those blue guys, can just be a cornerstone of a franchise.
Sounds good. Alright, we'd now like to hear from the GM of the formerly Daisy Flowers as to who they are picking as their new captain.
My new captain, everybody, is going to be Waluigi of the Waluigi Spitballs.
Alright, the one-time champ, three-time pitcher of the year, and two-time all-star Waluigi will now be running what used to be the Flowers. Would you like to say why you picked him? I mean, that's a pretty impressive accolade list there.
Daisy sucks and is very loose. And I decided to go with Waluigi because he is the best pitcher, and I need him, and I love him, and he's amazing. So that's it.
Alright, thank you. So now we'd like to hear from the GM of formerly the Peach Monarchs as to who their new captain will be.
My new captain is going to be Diddy.
Alright, Diddy Kong is now the new captain of the team. He is a former All-Star in Season 2, so would you like to give some insight into why him?
So he was a former All-Star, and he's never had his own team, so I think he deserves it, and he has a really good star hit.
Alright, sounds good. So now we will get the drafting process underway. As you can see on the screen, we'll be drafting from top down, so the now Mario Fireballs will get the first pick, then the Waluigi Spitballs, and we'll go down the list with the Bowser Jr. Rookies getting the last pick. Alright, so now we will begin the draft. So, with the first pick, the Mario Fireballs are on the clock. And the pick is in, the Fireballs select Peach. So, with the first pick in this draft, we get Peach, who's a champion, a former MVP last season, finals MVP in the Season 1, and a two-time All-Star. So that's a pretty good pick. So now, the Spitballs are on the clock. And the pick is in. The Spitballs are selecting Wiggler. So, Wiggler is the second player off the board. The GM gives a little dance for that one. The monkeys are now on the clock. And the pick is in. They will be selecting Tiny Kong. Alright. So Tiny Kong joins that team. A team that lost in the playoffs last year. Of course, the top two teams weren't even in the playoffs. But they hope this pick can turn their franchise around. So now the Bows are going to select King Boo. So the Bows, of course, after having two dominant seasons, lost in the playoffs last year and hope to turn it around again this year. And now we will have the Luigi Knights, of course, the runners-up last year, picking. They select Daisy. Alright, another good player, a Slugger of the Year, two-time All-Star, a champion. And now the reigning champs, the rookies, will be selecting. And they will select Bowser, another former All-Star in this league. And now I'd like to hear some reflection from some of the teams about that round before we get into the next round. So, would the Fireballs GM like to talk about his pick?
Yeah, I picked up the former MVP, wasn't being utilized right, got dropped as well, she took her player option, didn't take it, so she came to be hanging out with Mario, her boyfriend, great chemistry, it's gonna go great.
All right. Would the Spitballs GM like to say anything about Wiggler?
Alright, well, I picked Wiggler because I love Wiggler, and, he was kind of one of my best players on the Flowers, and I just had to have him back. I couldn't see him with any other team, so had to have him back.
Yeah, it's hard to argue against that pick. A former MVP, an All-Star, and a champion. I mean, that is quite the resume. So now we'll hear from the Monkeys about Tiny Kong.
I picked Tiny Kong because she's a really good hitter. She was a good hitter in all of the seasons except the last one, and I think she was just underutilized on the Wilds.
All right, so looking to turn around Tiny Kong's kind of whole career and hoping to turn her into a star. So the Bows selecting King Boo.
Yeah, I picked King Boo because he's a really good player, a proven player, former two-time All-Star, I believe. And him and Petey are buddies. Used to go go-karting together. So just trying to build that chemistry.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. So now we have the Knights, who picked up Daisy, who I feel is a steal this late for a team that's the runners-up.
Yeah, I chose Daisy because, of course, Luigi and Daisy pretty well together. She did very well last season. She was a pretty good pitcher, which will help with the Knights' defense. Of course, defense is the best offense. That's the Knights' kind of motto there. So I feel like that will be a very big beneficial addition to this team.
Yes, and along with her defense, a former Slugger of the Year in the league. So now we'll hear from the rookies about Bowser.
I picked Bowser because in the regular season last year, he wasn't all that good. He was a really good defensive player because he could throw the ball to first really fast. But in the playoffs, Bowser really stepped up, so I wanted to have him back for the season.
All right, and he will be returning to the team he won with a championship last year, looking for 2 straight, a former All-Star Bowser. So now we'll get underway with the second round, and the Fireballs are on the clock. And the Fireballs select Green Yoshi. All right. He is definitely a Yoshi. Now we'll have the Spitballs. They are selecting Wario. All right.
And breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, I'm throwing you all off. The real captain of my team is going to be Wario of the Wario Muscles, switching from the Spitballs.
Wow, so some unexpected news there with the team now turning over to Wario. And what a 3-headed monster right there with Wario, Waluigi, and Wiggler. That's a lot of W's right there, so they're hoping to translate that into some W's on the field. So, now we have the Monkeys up with their pick, and they will be selecting Baby Donkey Kong. Alright, a 2-time champ in this league. Of course, didn't win last year, but hoping to pick up a 3rd ring in 4 years. That would be quite the impressive feat for Baby Donkey Kong. Alright, the Bows are on the board to pick, and they are selecting King K Rool, least valuable player in this league in Season 2. Hoping to maybe be the first player to win an least valuable player and most valuable player in their career. So now we're going to have the Knights on the clock. And the Knights select Green Magikoopa. Alright, a former All-Star in the league, a champion last year. So we'll see if he can get it done this year with Luigi. Now the rookies are on the clock. And they select Herman, Yellow Magikoopa, a 2-time All-Star and champion last year, looking to repeat his championship run. Alright, we now like to hear some feedback from some of the teams on their picks. So first we'd like to hear from the Fireballs about Yoshi.
So I picked Green Yoshi because he has the ability to be a captain, right? And no one's ever made him a captain, so I'm going to incorporate him into my system and make him use his potential the best I can.
All right, trying to build that team around those first 2 solid picks. So we heard about Wario becoming the GM, so now we'd like to hear from him as to why he decided to do that.
I think Wario's a very valuable player, as he showed on the bows last season, and I wanted to give him his time to shine as a captain, seeming as he's one of the only captains that haven't actually been a captain in the Mario Sluggers League. So I wanted to give him a shot and represent his name going forward.
All right. Wario, of course, won a championship in Season 2, so looking to add on to that. So now we'd like to hear from the Monkeys GM on Baby Donkey Kong.
I picked Baby Donkey Kong because he was good in Season 1. He's going to try and show up his dad this season because LVP was not good for Donkey Kong. And I just think he's a good pick.
All right. Now the Bows, King K Rool, a little bit of an interesting pick here, being a least valuable player.
Yeah, so K Rool was least valuable player a couple seasons ago, but he really had a good performance in the World Series and the playoffs for the Knights. So I figured I'd get him here, continue building that chemistry. I know him and King Boo are good buddies. Just really get that outfield set because with the departure of Waluigi, Birdo's probably going to be doing some more pitching. And so we're not really going to have room for her back in the outfield. So yeah, just really building that outfield and just continuing to build chemistry.
And it's hard to argue with the talent on that team at the top there, with Petey being such a dominant player in the past. So now we'd like to hear from the Knights GMs on Green Magikoopa.
So, Green Magikoopa was on the Knights team 2 seasons ago, and he was one of the best players. He had a very, very good hitting rate, very good defense. Unfortunately, lost him to the rookies last season, where he also did very well and was a very good defensive player. So I wanted to get him back on this team. I think he's going to play a very, very good part, especially with the loss of Yoshi.
Yeah, adding a good defensive player to somebody who won defensive player on that year or on that team a few seasons ago in Green Toad. So now we'll have the rookies talk about Herman.
So obviously I had to get Herman back. He's extremely versatile. He's really good on defense. He's really good hitting with his star hits, and he's also a really good pitcher. So I just had to get him back for this season.
All right. So that concludes round 2. We'll be moving on to round 3 now with the fireballs on the clock. And they will be selecting Blue Pianta. Alrighty. Blue Pianta, I mean, that good solid hitter. So we'll hear from the Muscles now as they're on the clock. Blooper. Wow. Oh, the Bows GM is not happy about that one as the Muscles slurp up Blooper. The Monkeys are now on the clock here, and they'll be selecting Fire Bro. That's pretty fire, bro, that they selected him. Of course, won a championship last year. Now the Bows are on the clock. They are selecting the GOAT, Purple Toad. All right. It's hard to argue with drafting the GOAT this late in the draft. I mean, he's literally the GOAT. So, an all-star, a former champion, and it's just hard to argue against that pick. Now we'll hear from the Knights. And they select Hammer Bro. So 2 bros going this round. That is something. And now we'll hear from the rookies for the last pick of this round. And they're selecting Paragoomba. Alright. So of course an all-star last year. So had to bring him back. So now we'd like to get some feedback from some of the GMs in terms of their picking. So first, the Fireballs.
I just got a solid hitter, I'll be honest. And he's blue, so pretty cool.
I mean, it's hard to argue against him being a solid hitter. Now we'll hear from the Muscles about Blooper, who he stole from the Bows.
All right, so, usually it was Wiggler and King Boo as the chemistry team, but without him, I didn't really have that much chemistry with Wiggler, so I thought Blooper was the perfect pick, and he's proven time and time again to be a valuable asset to the Bows, so it just made sense for my team to take Blooper.
I mean, it makes sense to me. So now we have the Monkeys, who already have 7 players on their roster, so they almost have a full roster already.
Fire Bro is a really good hitter, and I need a hitter that can get the ball over the wall. And he was good in the playoffs. He wasn't really good at the regular season last season, but I think he was just underused compared to Hammer Bro, and I think he'll do good this season.
All right, Fire Bro, of course, winning a championship last year. Now we'll hear from the Bows about the GOAT. I don't know what else there is to say, really.
Nothing needs to be said about the GOAT. He's the GOAT. And losing Blooper hurts a little bit. He was a good locker room guy, I'm told. But I did take King Boo from the Flowers, and so, we got to make sacrifices here in this league. So Blooper, we're going to miss you, and good luck on the Flowers.
All right, some well wishes there for Blooper.
Muscles.
Yes. So now we'll hear from the Knights GM and about picking their pick.
All right, so Hammer Bro showed last season on the rookies to be very, very good at offense and defense. He had a lot of catches where he used his hammer to get some stuff in. Of course, him and Green Magikoopa worked together very well on the rookies team, so I decided to get both of them over here onto the Knights, and I feel like they're going to work really well together.
Yeah, it's kind of sad seeing the Bros split up, but at some point they all have to go their own way. Now we'll hear from the rookies.
So I picked Paragoomba just because of his high jump. He could be useful in the outfield, and if I use star powers with him, he might be able to hit good, but he doesn't really have the best track record. Like, he's a decent pitcher, but I kind of had to make do because 3 of my team members were taking this round, so I just gotta make do with Paragoomba.
It's hard to argue with bringing back players that you won a championship with. So
Are you sure about
now we'll circle back around for the next round with the Fireballs on the clock. They, of course, have already selected, as you can see, Mario, Peach, and Yoshi. Sorry, my mind blanked. And Blue Pianta. And we have a trade to announce. They're going to trade this pick for Toadette. And Toadette will move to the Fireballs, and the Monkeys now get this pick. So, the Monkeys are on the clock, and they select Hello Mario. Alright. Of course, everybody's favorite, me, Hello Mario goes to the Diddy Monkeys in exchange for Toadette. Alright. Now the Muscles will be selecting Boomerang Bro. Alright, so another Bro. Of course, a slugger of the year last year and an all-star on that team, and it's hard to argue with the success he had last year, so that's a pretty good pick for them. The Monkeys, for their second pick this round, select Monty Mole. One could argue another GOAT. I'm not here to debate who's the GOAT, but I think he needs to be in the discussion. Of course, won an All-Star in Season 2, so hoping to add another All-Star appearance to his resume. And the Monkeys are starting to fill up as a team. They already have 8 players, so they only have 1 more on their active roster. We'll hear from the Bows now as their picks in. Red Critta. So, Red Critta, of course, was a number 1 overall pick many moons ago in this league, in the birthing stages of the league. Of course, won a championship, won Breakout Player of the Year last year, and was an All-Star last year. Finally able to turn his career around, and now looks to add to a historically great team in terms of the Bows. Now the Knights are on the clock, and they select Red Pianta. So another Pianta off the board as they get Red Pianta. So Now, the rookies are on the clock. And they will be selecting Gray Shy Guy. Alright. So that will conclude this round. Now we'd like to hear from some of the players about some of the GMs about their picks. So let's first hear from the Fireballs, his thoughts about the trade for Toadette.
There were many internal thoughts about who we could pick, and we saw someone that wasn't going to be utilized in the situation, and we went and got them.
Alright, so now we'll hear from the Muscles about Boomerang Bro.
Alright, formerly known as the Daisy Flowers, Boomerang Bro. Again, shown to be a great asset to the team. A very good hitter and pretty good pitcher too, so I had to have him back.
Hard to argue with that logic. Now the Monkeys had 2 first-round picks, so first I'd like to hear your thoughts on trading away Toadette.
I wasn't really going to use Toadette this season anyway, because I don't have any chemistry for Toadette, and she was a good hitter, but I think she'll do better on the Fireballs.
Alright, and then of course you picked up Hello Mario and Monty Mole, so you might become a fan favorite just for those 2 picks right there. You have my vote in terms of that regard, so what do you have to say about them?
Yeah, obviously Monty and Hello Mario are fan favorites. Hello Mario was so good in the playoffs, did better than almost everyone. And Monty Mole, he might be just a chemistry pick, but he's a fan favorite anyway.
There you go. I mean, sometimes you gotta go for fan favorites to bring energy to a team. So now we have the Bows, who'd like to talk about Red Critter.
So like you mentioned before, Red Critter, former #1 overall pick back before we even recorded this league. And he was a bust for a few years, never really had a chance to shine. But one World Series game, I just happened to put him in because I was a little confident in that victory, and he won MVP, and since then he's flourished here on the Bows. So I hope for Red Critter to be a staple of this franchise for many seasons to come.
Alright, possibly picking up a new guy for the foreseeable future. So now the Knights selected, of course, Red Pianta.
Red Pianta's been a staple of the team for a long time. I definitely wanted to bring him back. He has some pretty good chemistry with a lot of the members of the team. Green Toad, Noki. He's done pretty well on the inner bases as a first baseman and also as a third baseman for some part of the season. So I think he's going to do pretty well.
Alright. And then, of course, we'd like to hear from the Rookies GM in drafting Red Shy Guy, who's, of course, a 2-time All-Star, so looking to add a 3rd to his resume.
So, obviously, the Rookies have an infamous history with Shy Guys because the Monarchs obviously used Shy Guy to end my run like a few seasons ago. And I feel like Shy Guy is a good overall player. He's a good hitter and a good pitcher. So I wanted to have him on my team.
Alright. So that concludes this round. So now we're going to be moving on to the next round of the draft. And the Fireballs are on the clock. With their pick, they select Yellow Pianta. So another Pianta off the board. Piantas are flying off the shelf like milk and bread during a storm. So now we have the Muscles on the clock. They select Koopa. Alright. Of course, now the Monkeys are on the clock looking to add their 9th player to have a full active roster. Of course, we will add the 2 reserves in this draft as well. Red Shy Guy. Alright, so another Shy Guy off the board. There's a lot of Shy Guys in around. Now the Bows are on the clock, looking to get back to their championship level with this draft. The pick is in. Boshi. Alright. So, Boshi is picked. I can't say that I've heard him called that before, but that's just me, I guess. Of course, was an all-star last year. The Knights are on the clock, and they select Green Critter. I believe his legal name is just Critter, but an all-star in Season 2. So a lot of All-Stars still on the board here that are coming off in these later rounds. The rookies now have the pick, and they select Matt. All right, a champion, an All-Star last year. It's hard to argue with bringing him back. So now we'd like to hear some thoughts about this round. First, we'll hear from the Fireballs GM about getting his second Pianta.
I just got another great hitter that I can, has an arm, throw it to home.
There you go. All right, now we'd like to hear from the Muscles about selecting Koopa.
Koopas have always shown to be a very decent hitter, have a lot of chemistry in the field, so I thought it'd be a really good player to add to my team.
All right, sounds good. The Monkeys now, already with 9 players.
I picked Red Shy Guy because he's always been a part of my team, and I used him as my plan to win against the rookies, and he's just a good star hitter, and yeah, I love him.
All right, now we'll hear from the Bows about Boshi.
So Boshi was a player that I really became a fan of last season. Kind of picked him up maybe a little bit as a joke, but he's really proven that he's not a joke in this league.
Won an All-Star.
Yeah, made an All-Star appearance, and in that round 1 series against the Knights, I feel like he was the MVP here for the Bows. One of the few players that showed up for the series, so I'm glad to have him back.
All right, so now we'd like to hear from the Knights GM about Critter.
So, Critter's always been a staple of the team. Showed off some pretty good defense 2 seasons ago. Fell off a little bit last season, but him and K Rool worked very, very well together. I did lose K Rool in this draft, and that hurts a little bit. But he is still a very good player on his own. Him and Green Toad have shown to be good together in the past, so I think they're gonna bring some stuff together this season.
It's hard to argue with the amount of green on that team. Now we'd like to hear from the rookies about Matt.
So obviously Matt, he was an All-Star last year. He was a fantastic hitter, and he really did very good in the regular season and the playoffs. So I obviously wanted to have him back for season 4.
All right, so that concludes this round. We'll be moving on to the next round now. The Fireballs are on the clock, and they select Light Blue Yoshi. Alrighty, a former number 1 overall pick, Light Blue Yoshi. I don't think he really lived up to that. No accolades to his name. Didn't play very well, but hey, there's always this year, right? Now we'd like to hear from the Muscles. They're going to select, I can't read, Paratroopa. Alright, so just getting all the Oopas here, and Bros. Kind of some cousin relationship going on there, I'm sure. Dixie Kong will be the Monkeys' 10th pick. So they only have 1 more roster spot available already. So now, of course, adding Dixie Kong to already having Tiny and Baby Donkey Kong. So you can't argue with the chemistry there. So the Bows would now select Toadsworth, a controversial player in this game, but a good one nonetheless, and he'll be on that Bows team, hoping to probably provide some relief pitching to Birdo. Could be tricky to hit against that team, looking at it. So now the Knights are up. And the pick is in. They select a me. All right. So that is the third me that will be involved in this league. Now the rookies select Red Paratroopa. All right. So now we'd like to hear from some of the GMs on their thoughts on this round. So first we'll hear from the Fireballs about taking Light Blue Yoshi.
I just took him because he's a pretty good outfielder. Can be out there with Green Yoshi and can use their tongue.
All right, using that tongue. I can't argue with that. Now I'd like to hear from the Muscles about selecting third pick.
All right, I picked Paratroopa because, it's Koopa's brother, cousin, boyfriend, whatever it is. So you gotta have him, the chemistry.
Gotta. All right, we'd like to hear from the monkeys now about selecting Dixie Kong. Of course, already getting that chemistry with Diddy, Tiny, and Baby Donkey Kong.
Dixie Kong was really just a chemistry pick. She's a good hitter with star hits. She was good on the Luigi Knights the 2 seasons ago. And yeah.
All right. Now we'd like to hear from the Bows about Toadsworth, possibly a relief pitcher, more or less.
Mm-hmm. So with Birdo probably going to be pitching a little more this season, was thinking about alternating her and King Boo possibly as pitchers, but then the outfield gets a little messy at points, so I feel like adding Toadsworth as just another solid pitcher on this roster could be good for the team.
And he's a sneaky decent pitcher at times, or hitter at times if used right. So we'll see what he can bring to that team. Now we'd like to hear from the Knights about selecting a Mii.
All right, so I actually did have a Mii last season, although I never really put him in. He was always in reserve. So I do feel like a Mii would be very, very good for this team. Very all-around stats. Especially with the green theme of the team, I feel like it would be a very good addition. So we might see more of him this season than we did last season.
All right. So now we'll hear from the rookies about their pick.
So Red Paratroopa has the same defensive ability that Paragoomba has. So I thought that would be good. Again, it's not as good of a defensive ability as like Hammer Bro or Fire Bro, but pickings are a bit slim, and also Paratroopa does have chemistry with like my team, because with my Koopa team, so I felt like he would be a solid player to pick up.
All right, so that concludes this round of the draft. Now we'll go on to the next round. So the Fireballs are on the clock. They will be selecting Baby Peach. All right. So Baby Peach is off the board. Of course, won Breakout Player of the Year back in Season 2. So hoping to, who knows, maybe even crack an All-Star game this year. I feel like that's everybody's goal. So now the Muscles are on the clock. And they select Dry Bones. All right, just good old regular Dry Bones. And a lot of players that look alike on that team. So I guess there's something to be said about that. Now the Monkeys with their final pick in this draft. They select Kamek. All right. So now their team is complete, as you can see on the screen. That is their entire team, barring any trades before the season starts. So now the Bows are on the clock. And the pick is in. Funky Kong. Alrighty. Funky Kong always seems to be a favorite of the Bows general manager. So now we'll see what the Knights are going to do with their pick. They select Green Dry Bones. Alright, so the second of the Dry Bones family to be picked here. So now we'll hear from the rookies. Green Koopa. Alright. So Koopa is not on the board, we just realized. Red Koopa, sorry. There was a little miscommunication here. Red Koopa is off the board. So that's all the Koopas, I believe, gone. So now we'd like to hear some feedback from the players. So first we'll hear from the Fireballs GM about Baby Peach.
So basically, it's the MVP, but younger. And, bring her in. Maybe she'll develop into a great player herself, become an all-star, like you said. Great overall pick, I think, for the team.
All right. Now we'll hear from the Muscles about Dry Bones.
Dry Bones has chemistry with the Koopas, and I had him last season. Pretty solid player overall. Just a full-rounded player, so I chose him again.
All right, now we'll hear from the monkeys. I'd like to hear about their pick and then also just how they feel about their entire team now that it's done and completed.
I picked Kamek because he's just another relief pitcher for Diddy and maybe even Red Magikoopa. But he also has chemistry with Fire Bro and Hello Mario, which is always good.
So what do you think about your team for this season? You like where you're at?
I like where I'm at. I think I'll be better this season. Even though I lost Peach, I'll still have the big star hit, which really killed, or really was really good for my team. And I'm liking the way the season's going so far.
All right. And of course, lost in the playoffs last year, so hoping to get back into the playoffs and possibly maybe go all the way this year. We'll see. So now we'd like to hear from the Bows GM about Funky Kong.
Well, I had Funky Kong in Season 1, and the one game that I lost in Season 1, you know, I don't want to blame that on Funky Kong, but I'm gonna. So I'm hoping to bring him back here, maybe smooth some things over with him and see if we can make it work. He is a former champion with the Bows, so.
Hard to argue with that, so we'll see if they can work it out there. Now we'll hear from the Knights about their pick.
So, Green Dry Bones is a pretty good hitter. Of course, he's got the green theming going on. I did have him on my team last season. He ended up being on the reserves just because he didn't have very good chemistry. And he doesn't have very good chemistry this season either. However, I do feel like he could bring something to the table, which is why I claimed him.
All right. So now we'll hear from the rookies.
So Koopa obviously fits with the main theme of my team, and I feel like he can bring some good chemistry and maybe like strengthen my infield. And he's also a solid hitter, so I just wanted to have him on the team as a nice, well-rounded player.
All right. So we're getting into the dying stages of this draft. So now we'd like to have the Fireballs pick. And they're selecting Pink Yoshi. Alrighty. So, of course, a champion in Season 1. So, looking to add to his resume on the Fireballs. So now the muscles are up. They're selecting Brown Critter. Alright. So, now, of course, the Monkeys team is full, so the Bows are up. There is a trade to announce. So, the Bows will be trading. The details are coming in. So, Toadsworth and this pick are going to be traded to the Fireballs for Light Blue Yoshi and Baby Peach. So, to follow up, the Bows trade this pick, Toadsworth, for Light Blue Yoshi and Baby Peach. So now the Fireballs are on the clock. And we'll make the appropriate changes on the board. So the Fireballs are going to select Red Toad. So now that puts the Knights on the clock. And the Knights select Baby Luigi. Alright, so another baby off the board. And that is now a full team for the Knights. And the rookies with their final pick of this draft select Goomba. Alright. So now we'd like to get some feedback from the GM. So first let's hear from the Fireballs. First I'd like to hear about your first pick. So talk about Red Yoshi, Pink Yoshi, sorry.
We picked Pink Yoshi because we knew the trade might happen and we needed a replacement for Blue. And Toadsworth kind of brings the team together. He's like a Draymond Green. He's a glue guy. You know, he's going to bring everything together.
All right. Any thoughts on Red Toad, who you also drafted?
He's pretty good.
All right. That's all we need. So the Muscles now selecting Brown Critter.
All right, I want another heavy hitter, and obviously the Critter is a heavy hitter, and I like Brown Critter. He was on my team last season, and he's funny, so I had to have him back.
There you go. You heard it here first, folks. All right, so now the Bows making a trade this round. So let's hear about your thoughts on the trade and getting the 2 players that you got.
I mean, like we mentioned earlier, I said I needed some backup pitching. More pitching on a roster is always good. And Toadsworth is a bit of a weird player in the league. His pitches are very interesting, to say the least, and I felt that flipping him for Baby Peach, a more proven pitcher in the past, would be good for the team. And we also got Light Blue Yoshi. Him and Boshi go way back. They're good buddies.
Obviously the featured player in that trade.
Yes, true. Former #1 pick.
Former #1 overall pick. It's not every day you can trade for a #1 overall pick this late in the draft.
And we've seen what former #1 picks who are busts can do on the Bows when given the chance.
So watch out for breakout player of the year, Light Blue Yoshi. You heard it here first, folks. All right, so the Knights, we'd like to hear from them about Baby Luigi, and then I'd also like to hear what their thoughts are on their full roster.
All right, Baby Luigi did it pretty well last season. He served as a somewhat good relief pitcher whenever it came to it. Pretty good outfielder, although he did drop the ball sometimes. He will be a very good final addition to this team. And I do really like the team. I think we've got a lot of well-roundedness. We've got some heavy hitters. We've got a really good outfield. Mostly green, which is pretty nice. So I feel like we're going to be able to bring it together really well this season.
All right, sounds good. And we'll see, maybe the me will be a little green even. So now we'd like to hear from the rookies about Goomba and then their team as a whole.
So Goomba's my last pick, and I don't know, he's okay, I guess. Maybe he'll be good with us with star hits. We'll just have to see, but there weren't that many other players for my last pick, so I just went with Goomba.
All right. So the reigning champions looking to repeat with this little bit of a retooled, remastered roster. So now we'll go on to the next to last round with the fireballs on the clock. And the pick is in. They are selecting Blue Toad. All right. So it's a lot of Toad power on that team right now. A nice little group of Toads there. So now the Muscles are on the clock. They're selecting Blue Dry Bones. All right. So getting a lot of players that look alike. That's usually a good thing, I feel like. Maybe. So now the Bows will be selecting their final pick. And they will be selecting Blue Noki. Alrighty. So the Blue Noki will go to the Bows to round out their roster. So that's it for this round. So now we'd like to hear from the Fireballs GM about Blue Toad.
Just filling out the roster.
Alright. The Muscles about their pick.
Well, Blue Dry Bones isn't my favorite. I've seen him fumble a lot of times for other teams. But, he's a reserve, and he's got chemistry, so there you go.
Alright, now the Bows, we'd like to hear about Blue Noki and then also just how you feel about your team as a whole.
Yeah, so Blue Noki's really just here to round out the roster, give us another decent hitter, decent defender. And, yeah, so this is the first season we haven't, or the last season was the first season we didn't win at all. So we're looking to retool this roster, and we've had a ton of great players go through the Bows, and Peach, Daisy, Wiggler, Wario, Waluigi, Blooper, and I'm proud of our abilities to always retool the team and put out a good team here for the Mario Sluggers League, and I like the team we've assembled here, so I'm looking forward to this season.
And it's hard to argue when you have Birdo and Petey on your team that you're not a contender, because that is a star duo right there in this league. Alright, so now we'll get underway with the final round of this draft. Just the Fireballs and Muscles will be selecting to fill out their roster. So the Fireballs will be selecting Donkey Kong. Alright, a least valuable player last year. Looking to maybe turn it around this year on the Fireballs. Maybe not. Maybe he stays on the reserves all year. Maybe he's trade bait. Who knows? But he was drafted. So now the Muscles. Final pick, and the final pick overall is Yellow Yoshi. Alright, so let's hear from the Fireballs GM about the least valuable player, reigning least valuable player Donkey Kong, and their team as a whole.
We're all about loyalty here, and although our previous management couldn't utilize Donkey Kong, he's a great hitter and has a mean pitch, so we're hoping to utilize him here, maybe if he gets minutes.
Alright, how do you feel about your roster as a whole going into this season?
No, there's some good people, could be some all-stars, there's a lot of chemistry, right? They're all buddies, they know each other. I'm trying to build around Peach. Sorry, Mario. Peach is obviously our best player.
Alright, so now we'd like to hear from the Muscles about their pick and then their team as a whole.
Alright, I picked Yellow Yoshi, just he kind of fit the yellow theme I got going on. And, he could be a valuable reserve. He's not a bad hitter, could be good in the outfield. So, in my team overall, I like it a lot. I got a lot of the players that I wanted to get. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Alright, so that concludes the draft for Season 4. As you can see on the screen, those are your teams for this season. So if you want the latest information when all the new games are released, be sure to follow us on all our socials, Instagram, Twitter. Follow us, make sure you're subscribed on YouTube, and we will see you in the season.